This has been the most whiplash-inducing election of my adult lifetime. I have to say, I've never seen anything like it. With the fortunes of the fact that we have 3 candidates for chancellor. We've never had that before. In the entire history of Germany since 1949, the recreation of the, at that time, 2 German republics, the communist and the Western, we've always had 2 chancellor candidates fielded by the CDU and the SPD, the Conservatives, and the as it were, the German version of the Labour Party. Now the Greens, for the first time in history, are fielding their own candidate. And memorably, for quite a while at the beginning of this campaign, it looked as though their candidate, Annalena Baerbock, actually had a serious chance of winning. The other aspect of the Afghanistan debacle that it raises, of course, is transatlantic relations and the EU's ability to develop, or Europe's ability to develop anything remotely like a European pillar within the alliance or on its own, what is normally called strategic autonomy. And I think it was Kans Kunani who was saying on Twitter yesterday that the problem about strategic autonomy is that it means other Europeans accepting a leading role by what are now the big 2 rather than the big 3 in Europe, which is France and or Germany. In other words, France and Germany would have to be to Europe what the Americans are in NATO. And there are many Europeans for whom this is problematic. That is, I think he was perfectly right in saying that that is the key problem with strategic autonomy. That said, I think President Biden has made it absolutely clear that we need to look to ourselves in our own neighborhood. And that neighborhood, I think now, is much larger than it used to be.
We have to do as an industry a much better job at firstly educating the public with respect to the fact that mining can be low environmental impact, it can be highly responsible from a social point of view, and it can be low carbon footprint. It's not easy and it's a challenge in the case of some projects, but it can be done, and that's what we as TechMet seek to do in all of our projects and all of our investments. And that's what the industry needs to do, because to have a successful energy transition and for the GMs and Teslas and VWs of this world to claim to have electric vehicles that are correctly, with ingredients that are correctly sourced from an ESG and low carbon footprint point of view, we need a very different industry, and we can. And our key challenge is to produce these metals in quantities way beyond that which has been done historically, and to do it in an ESG compliant and low carbon footprint manner, and to do it in a way where the supply pipeline is not completely dominated by Chinese interest, which is the case today. And China's been, executing a coherent program to secure this control over the ingredients of the energy transition for the last 20 years, while everybody else has been sleeping, and therefore have essentially lost a war that they didn't know they were fighting till they lost it. And that's a massive national security issue. It's a massive US corporate competitiveness issue, and it's a massive global climate change issue.